you very much. It's always pretty difficult to be the last speaker. I'll try my best. I'll not keep my talk long, and then also we'll try to leave enough time for us to actually entertain some discussion and also some question and answers. Actually, I found the discussion just now very interesting because I've been also thinking quite a lot that what should actually be the role of the technology, and then how can actually we make use of all those technology in the real world. And that's the reason that for us we are focusing a lot on on-ground research, try to really go to the city itself, try to go to observe the transport infrastructure themselves, and then try to see that what are the technologies that we are using, and then how we can actually use that together to solve all the solutions, to become the solutions, to solve all the problems that you have on ground. So my talk today is actually based on one of our projects that we did. It was supported by IKI under GIZ. The name of the project is Urban Act. And I think the Urban Act itself covers quite a number of different countries. And in Thailand, this Urban Act project covered 3 cities, Chiang Mai, Khon Kaen, and then Phuket. So our team will consist of actually 3 organizations. We call ourselves Urban Act Phuket Academic Consortium. Contains of Future and Urban Policy Research Unit in Thammasat University, National Energy Technology Center, or NTech, which is where I belong, and also the Faculty of Law of Chulalongkorn University. I'm talking on behalf of the consortium itself, and I'll be focusing more on the transport side, on transport dimension of the project. So this is basically our members. So we actually have Associate Professor Vichit Busabamarom from Thammasat University as our project leader. We actually also contributed quite a lot on the transport dimension. We have Dr. Nuwong Cholakup. He is now Director of Low Carbon Energy Research Group from NTech. I'm also one of the research team. We also have legal expert, Associate Professor Dr. Ponsan Liengbun Lerth Chai, and also Dr. Siddhisak Mukamla, who is actually working with the GIS thing, because we believe that when we go on ground, we need to have very accurate information, based on the maps, and then we can work further. And also, apart from that, we still have a lot of team members here. So I will start actually with the model that we are using when we are trying to understand the problem, especially when we are focusing more on the transport infrastructure dimension of the city. So I will start with I would say the left-hand side of the audience. This is our model. We call it integrated planning system. And then the thing that we are focusing here is actually how to address the climate issues in the city. So we start with, because we are talking about climate issue, city, and then we picked transport infrastructure as the infrastructure that we want to focus. So the main portion of our work would be the land use and transport planning. But apart from that, we also realize that transport itself also need to undergo the reduction of greenhouse gas emission in order to become low carbon. And on the other hand, itself will also be affected by climate change. So we also perform risk assessment of floods, water scarcity, drought, and heat. And then apart from that, we also, even if we are focusing only on the transport infrastructure, but we also need to see the connections with all other utilities. For example, water, land, and energy resources. Especially when we talk about transport infrastructure, we cannot forget energy. Because, for example, if you're gonna go EV, you need to switch from fossil fuel to electricity. And how are you going to get all those electricity? And then unfortunately Phuket is an island, so if we want more electricity, we actually need to think a lot. So we can go through underground cable and get the electricity. That has been the way that we manage the electricity in the city. But then that would not be sufficient. And then, so if we need more and more electricity in order to electrify our vehicles, then what should be the way of going further? And that's the reason that even if you are focusing on transport infrastructure, we need to think also about the utilities. And on the right-hand side is actually the methodology that we are tackling this research. So we start from the analysis of hazards, climate risk, and its dynamics, and also the vulnerabilities. And I think that touched upon what Professor Berg said earlier quite a lot, that when we go to the city, then we need to try to see that, so what are the groups of people are actually in the city who will actually be affected? And then that's the reason that in this research, we are focusing a lot with the vulnerability side of the risk assessment. And then so from now on, we will be co-designing the actions for low carbon and resilient measures and projects with the people on ground. So we've been working with Phuket provincial government and also the municipality government of Vichit district. And then we'll be working further with them to co-design some of the solutions that will help address the issues with transport infrastructure. And finally, well, one thing that so I'm also trained as an engineer. So one thing that engineer and also scientists always forget is actually the last portion of institutional design, because we cannot really change the practice of people if we don't really see what's the institutions that is governing the system itself. So we also need to think, for example, about the law that they are now complying, and also all the plans that they have at the moment, and try to see what are the things that we need to change, or what are the things that will be actually, I would say, impediments to our changes. Okay, so these are actually the things that we've been doing with this model. So our inputs would be, so until now, the planning hardly think about climate change. So we actually also talked with the provincial government and municipal government, and then we found that actually they didn't really concern a lot about climate change, especially when it comes to the design of transport infrastructure. So we started by actually trying to visualize the issues that we have with climate change. For example, on the adaptation side, we try to see that the flood, the drought, and the heat. So what will be the frequency? So will that be actually more because of climate change? And also the intensity, for example, the flood, will it be there for longer because of the climate change? Or will it be higher because of the climate change? So those are the things that we started. And also the mitigation side, we'll also see that how we can actually achieve the NDC, because the NDC itself is actually deployed to several sectors, so they have like the sectoral targets for NDC. And transport infrastructure itself also have its own sectoral target. But when it comes to cities, the cities need to look at all the sectors. So we also try to see that, so how this NDC is actually being deployed to the city. And then we found that, it was hardly deployed there. So it come only at the level of concept. So that's something that actually we need to work further on the institutional design. Also, we consider the urbanization and expansion, the population changes, socio-economic changes, and also suitable land use. On the transport side, by talking to the stakeholders, we identified 3 important issues that I would say are intertwined. The first one is greenhouse gas emission. The second one is flood. And the third one is traffic jam. So greenhouse gas emission is actually more connected to climate mitigation. And the flood is actually connected to climate adaptation. So when we talk about climate change, we need to cover both dimensions of them. But then when you go on ground, the municipality will not start talking to you if you come with transport issue, if you don't talk about the issue that they are facing at the moment, which is traffic jam. Actually traffic jam in Phuket sometimes is even worse than Bangkok. So yes, it's even worse than Bangkok. So from Phuket airport to the Phuket city, it's actually around like, I think 30 kilometers. The average time will be 1 hour. So I think you can imagine how bad the traffic jam is. And it can go up to 2 hours if you go in the rush hour. So it's actually pretty bad there. And then, as I said, that we also need to think about the utility. So we see the water supply system, the wastewater, electricity supply and transmission. And then we try to come up with resilient and low carbon city concept. These are actually the measures that we proposed with the stakeholders, and then try to see, can we develop some guideline or measures for land use planning and transportation that include all these aspects, and also guideline and measures for master planning and urban design, urban project focusing on nature-based solution, low carbon and flood resilient mobility, rainwater management, coastal protection, smart city for tourism, clean air and power supply, and then also institution design and legal measures. So it's actually a lot of things to do, but then, the length of the project is not so long. So now, from now, we are trying to co-design the implementation, implementation phase of the project, and then try to see that what are actually the elements that we can start first. Because we now identified all the problems that we have, we see how they link together, and then the next phase would be, so what are the low-hanging fruits? So what are the things that we can start tackling? Oops. Okay, great. So this is actually we try to simplify the model when it comes to low carbon and resilient transport. So the three intertwined issues, as I said, greenhouse gas emission reduction, traffic congestion, and climate adaptation. And here we are talking about flood. So we start here with the traffic congestion because it's where that we can catch the attention of the municipality. And then we said that actually traffic congestion is worsening the greenhouse gas emission. So that actually start grabbing their attention. And then from greenhouse gas emission reduction, we actually do the modeling and then try to see that up until 2050 how this will change. And then if the number of vehicles is more, you have more energy demand and more greenhouse gas emission. So we will see actually the connection between the traffic congestion and the greenhouse gas emission. And then climate adaptation itself, the flood, is also actually connected to traffic congestion. Why? Because, so imagine, I think in Bangkok also we are facing, starting from last month, when it's raining, you cannot drive fast and you tend to go slower. When you face floods, it even goes much, much slower. And that actually make the traffic congestion even worse. Also, same things are happening in Phuket, especially in the Phuket Old Town, which is pretty flat. I would call it flash flood because it will stay there just only 2 or 3 hours. But then this flash flood is actually affecting a lot the traffic congestion, and that's the thing that we need to address. So, with the low carbon transport scenario planning, so we come up with 3 different scenarios: the business as usual, the updated target, and then carbon neutral scenario. So what we define as updated target scenario is that we try to look at all the plans that we have at the moment, and then say that, by the time that they want these things to happen, it will happen. So that's like the updated target scenario. And then finally, the carbon neutral scenario is like, we need to go further to do it. And this is only the low carbon aspect of it. And you will see that because the population growth in Phuket, if you include the floating population, is very, very large. So floating population in Phuket is like almost like the same number or even twice the time of the actual population of Phuket. Phuket itself has only like 400,000-500,000 people. But when you include the floating population, that goes up to like 1 million or 1.5 million, depending on the time or depending on the season. So when we include all these things, and also we think that all those population will also grow. With this, we work with DPT under the Ministry of Interior to make sure that our population growth forecast is actually accurate. And then you'll see that the carbon emission, so I think the figure itself is not so accurate because like we simplify a lot. But then the growth itself is something that you can see. It can go up to like 2 or 2.5 times of the emission that we have at the moment if we go with business as usual. But then if we say that, well, if all the targets are achieved, then, well, it's kind of status quo. I would say like 2 to 2.5. That's not increasing a lot. But we need additional efforts. For example, well, new biofuel target promotion, which I think it's not kind of likely at the moment because biofuel is very, very expensive. But if we don't do that, actually, well, with only one single city, it's very difficult. It's very hard to achieve carbon neutral in Phuket. And also, we try to understand the traffic congestion, and we went with very, very primitive method. And we go there, and then we just like count the number of the cars. We went to Phuket Old Town, and also the highway 4021, which is actually going down from north to south, and then the highway 402, which is actually the main highway connecting the airport to Phuket City. And then these are our results. I think when we go with the survey results, it's actually nothing new. But then we found so we also put the GPS in the car, like very, very simple one. And then we ask our staff to drive around the same area for like more than an hour. And then we found that one of the reasons that the traffic jam in Phuket is bad is because from the highway itself, there are a lot of avenues extending out of the highway. And then when the car comes out and then get in all those avenues, that's where the car stuck. And then you see a lot of hotspots here, which is where the highway is actually extending. So to address the problem with the traffic jam in Phuket, it's not only about lessening the number of the cars, but also you need to understand that you need to deal with all the avenues that is extending from the highways. And then, well, we also go with this level service. So both highways are actually level F, which is the worst level. And I think it's not surprising because Phuket is the traffic jam is very bad. And also we cannot forget the flood issues. So the three highways that we are focusing, highway 402 and 4021 and 4024 are actually the main roads that people use in Phuket. So we, based on our survey and also based on the discussion with the municipality and also other stakeholders, we found that the frequency of floods is increasing and also the impact is increasing. So the flood is staying longer, and also, well, the height is actually, well, higher based on the discussion. But then the characteristic of the flood is still the same. It's the flash flood. So the flood will not stay there for like 2-3 months. Flash flood is good in the sense that so it doesn't stay long, so people can just wait until it goes and then use the road. But then when it comes to actually planning for flash flood, one issue that we found was that it's very difficult to capture the flash flood from the satellite data. It's very difficult. So we really need to go on ground and then get to talk to people to really understand the situation. And also the urban and economic areas are increasingly vulnerable to flood risks, posing challenge for infrastructure resilience and provincial income. So we are focusing especially on Vichit municipality, which is like a district municipality, a small one. And then we see actually the gap between the richest and the poorest. So for the richest, it's fine. But for the poorest, actually, the floods are actually become a very big problem for them. And then we are now in the phase of co-designing the measures and also the low-hanging fruit actions to be done with the municipality and also with the stakeholders in Phuket. So we are now developing this landscape of transport issues and countermeasures. So we are not solving more than these three issues, so the flood, traffic congestion, and emission. And then you'll see that many of the measures are actually linking traffic congestion with flood and also linking traffic congestion with the greenhouse gas emission. So well, this is actually one of the proofs that all these issues are intertwined. And also we try to identify the stakeholders to work with. So you see both stakeholder at national level and also the stakeholder at provincial level. So those are the people who we need to work with. Because we are talking about the roads, so basically the stakeholders will be government, but we also see some private stakeholders that we need to engage, especially when it comes to the city, because all those people are actually very influential at the city level. So I think I will stop my talk here, and also I welcome any questions. Thank you very much.